thought I knew how I felt about you, but now I'm sure I don't know much at all. And when you sit beside me during those long table readings, oh, when we practice lists down in the pond, yeah, yeah, and I get the feeling it's not just my heart that's beating. I wanna tell you, but how will I respond? Oh, Jenny, you don't know what to say, don't wanna say. You don't know what to say to me now, do you, baby? Oh, Jenny, but you don't know what to say to me, say. You don't know what to say to me now, do you, baby? Oh, Jenny, but you don't know what to say, don't wanna say. You don't know what to say to me now, do you, baby? Oh, Jenny, you don't know what to say to me, say. Don't know what to say. Just can't believe this is happening to us. It's our characters that are supposed to fall in love. Ever since I saw you on the set of Red Dawn, well, I knew that it was you I'd be thinking of. So I won't ever put you in the corner, baby, as long as you tell me that's what you want me to do. Yeah, yeah. Just give me a sign and let me know you're my lady. And all of that gossip about you and Charlie is through. Oh, Jenny, you don't know what to say, don't wanna say. Don't know what to say to me now, do you, baby? Oh, Jenny, you don't know what to say, don't wanna say. Don't know what to say to me now, do you, baby? Oh, Jenny, you don't know what to say, don't wanna say. Don't know what to say to me now, do you, baby? Oh, Jenny, you don't know what to say now. You don't know what to say to me. And I feel like I'm alone in a place where I don't belong. You gotta give me some kind of sign, girl. You give me hope, keep me hanging on.
What's up, hackers? Welcome to Saturday Hacker Day. My name is Taggart, and as usual on Saturdays, we're going to be doing some blue team challenges today. A little bit more of an old school approach to today's stream, less on the home lab and more on some actual platform challenges that you can play along with as well. But before we do that, as always on Saturdays, we're going to start with this week in cyber news. And there's really only one story that merits a conversation from this week, and that is the Lapsus saga. Lapsus is, if you're not familiar, a cyber criminal gang that has successfully compromised a number of different organizations. In particular, this last week, there was confirmation of a breach of Microsoft, in which 37 gigabytes of data was compromised, as well as their Azure DevOps build pipeline for certain products. In particular, the source code for Bing, great, and Cortana was was leaked. I think there were a few other things in that leak as well. You would think so for 37 gigs. And having access to the DevOps pipeline itself, even though Microsoft claims that they have policies in place to prevent secrets like API keys and things like that, certificates from being included in those build pipelines, the leaked data from Lapsus suggests otherwise. So as we actually demonstrated on Tuesday, if you have access to an organization's automated build pipeline for their source code, you can do a lot of damage. And of course, we knew that already because of what happened with SolarWinds. So really interesting stuff coming from Lapsus just to start there. And in addition to Microsoft, we also had a major breach of Okta. Now, this one impacted me personally because I spent a good chunk of the week working on it. If you don't know what Okta is a single sign-on provider, or a federated identity provider. What does that mean? So your organization has a lot of different cloud-based accounts and maybe even in-house applications that all have to use authentication. Rather than setting each one up with a separate database of usernames and passwords, you want to be able to configure them to work with a single identity. Generally speaking, in a Windows-based environment, that might be your Active Directory account. Well, okay, do we set up different the same username and password across different accounts to make that happen, or different platforms to make that happen? No, because then you have to worry about the security of every single one of those. Instead, what Okta allows you to do is to sign into a platform that then will provide authentication tokens to those different platforms. So you sign into Okta using those credentials, and then Okta will in turn authenticate you kind of as a proxy to those different services that you're trying to access, verifying your identity as it goes. So obviously, this is a really sensitive thing to have breached in any given organization. Gifram, we're going to actually talk about that in just a second, about the 16-year-old. Hey, Triz. So obviously, if any given organization's Okta platform, like their admin panel or whatever, were breached, that would be really, really scary. This was Okta itself, meaning all else being equal, in theory, you could imagine a situation where a breach of Okta could lead to a breach of customer data. And that's indeed what did happen, kind of. There are kind of two parts of this. We'll talk about Okta in more detail in just a second, because I have to kind of go off about it. But before we get there, let's talk about the news about arrests for the Lapsus gang. So Hacker News reports as of yesterday that the City of London police has arrested 7 teenagers between the ages of 16 and 21. I don't actually think that the 21-year-olds are teenagers, so that's very bad phrasing on the Hacker News part, but whatever. That are claimed to be, or suspected of being, part of the Lapsus gang. Now, this is an ongoing criminal investigation, so all of these are just allegations, right? We don't have proof of anything yet, but there was obviously some evidence that led to the arrests in the first place. It's sometimes the case with these that like their mom turns them in. It would be very funny if it turned out to be the case here. And this is also follow on from a really poorly sourced Bloomberg news story that basically said that there was a 16-year-old Oxford-based teenager who was the mastermind of the group. Now, I thought it was poorly sourced. And so, unfortunately, I had to go to one of my least favorite sources of information for this, is Brian Krebs. But in this case, Brian Krebs might not be a terrible source of information for this, because he has a habit of doxing people. So he might actually know who was doing what in this case. And it seems to be that this individual may indeed be related to the Lapsus gang. Regardless of who they are, I think that more interesting than, the fact that it was kids, although I think that these organizations should rightly feel a little bit humiliated by being breached by some teenagers, if it's the case, was their tactics. I think is really fascinating to take a look at how they were doing what they were doing. And this is something that we've been talking about for a long time on the blue team, which is insider threat. Insider threat meaning that not just somebody who's disgruntled, but somebody who has received external motivation or external compensation in order to provide external access to a threat actor. And that's exactly what Lapsus was doing. They were paying people for VPN or portal access to different platforms. They were just straight up paying them in cryptocurrency. And what this means is they weren't interested in passwords. They weren't interested in you installing software. They just wanted a login. That's all they wanted, right? So it was going to look somewhat legitimate at first, and was going to look somewhat quiet at first. And this isn't the first time that we've seen news. Yeah, the Guard, exactly right. They were advertising on their Telegram channel, like, help wanted, give us your VPN creds. And it worked. And this isn't the first time that we've seen something like this take place. If you remember maybe a year back, maybe a little bit more, somebody was attempting to do this at a Tesla factory where they had received a request and offers of compensation to provide essentially a remote access Trojan onto Tesla's systems inside the factory. And it was believed that that was essentially corporate espionage or nation state espionage. I think it was like, I could be wrong about this. Please don't quote me on this, but I do believe that it was it was linked at least hazily to a Chinese nation state activity, which is in keeping with what we know about that kind of Chinese nation state activity, because they tend to go after intellectual property. So it's something that we have to think about in our threat model, that not just a disgruntled malicious insider or the unwitting malicious insider who makes mistakes with permissions, right? That they don't know how much damage they can do, but the motivated, compensated malicious insider who is working as a proxy for an external threat actor trying to provide that external access. Now, different organizations respond to these incidents differently, of course, but we have to talk a little bit about how Okta responded, because it was thank you, Cyberoflow. It was attributed to a Russian. Thank you for the correction. Okay, so it was attributed to a Russian. But we have to talk about how Okta responded to this, because it was a textbook case study in how not to respond to this incident. The first communication from Okta about this incident was terse, and it was absolute. Okta said in no uncertain terms that they had not been breached. They connected the screenshots dumped by Lapsus to an incident that they claimed that they were aware of in January of 2022. And in addition, they wrote off the attacker's claims. That's usually a bad idea, because especially with Lapsus, they brought receipts. And as the day went on, first of all, I have to tell you that as an Okta customer, I didn't trust that, and I don't know any defenders who did. It was too terse, and there was just such a disconnect between what the claims were and what they were saying. It didn't make any sense. There was no gain for Lapsus to be making these claims if they didn't have the juice to back it up. And so, we started threat hunting and incident response right away, and everyone else that I know who was an Okta user did the same thing. And in particular, we had to start theorizing, because we weren't getting any information from Okta. We had to start theorizing on our own. Okay, if Okta was breached, how could they have gotten into our systems? And so the answer there was pretty much about how an Okta administrator, or a customer support engineer, I should say, would gain administrative access to a customer's portal. The good news about all of that was that in order to make that happen, the customer had to have opened a support case with Okta, and that was like at 8 hours at a jot, and then it could be extended for 24 hours, enabling what's called admin impersonation. And whenever that happens, if you are collecting logs from Okta, your Okta instance, those show up very, very clearly. So that was kind of part one, that if somebody was trying to impersonate an administrator, it was going to show up very clearly. Now, the other thing that attackers could have done, in theory, was execute an MFA reset on users' accounts. So you could do an MFA reset, and then you could enroll a new MFA device if you kick off the MFA reset, which basically removes the second factor for authentication for a given user, and then use a cred stuffing or brute force attack to try to find an account that you can log into. Once done, you go ahead and add your own device as the attacker, as the second factor, and Bob's your uncle. You're in as that user. So you were looking as a defender, you were looking for admin impersonations, you were looking for MFA resets, you were looking for new devices added, or any other kind of policy changes at the administrative level for sign-on to Okta. So that's kind of what we were looking for. By the way, at this point, as we were doing this, no information from Okta was forthcoming. So we all had to do this blind. Later in the day, actually toward the evening Pacific time at least, and so certainly, East Coast and in Europe, we got further information saying, okay, no, just kidding. As we looked further into this, we did find evidence of compromise. And the reason was that it turns out that the group that was in fact compromised was a subcontractor for Okta known as Cytel. And Cytel, basically, they are a staffing agency, for lack of a better term. They provide large tech companies with support engineers to work support cases for them so that, Okta themselves doesn't have to handle the staffing for that. That's pretty gross as a business practice, but I'll leave that alone. So Cytel was who got compromised, the Cytel engineer. And they were aware of the compromise, and in fact, Okta was aware of the compromise. However, they never asked Cytel for the full report of the compromise. And it turned out that as they did the review, and they said that a forensics firm, I believe it might have been Mandiant, that did the full review of the compromise, after they saw the full report, it was patently evident that the attackers did gain access to, at most, 366 Okta customers. Now, this came out in kind of two chunks. And then there was a webinar the next day where I think the CISO, or maybe it was the CEO of Okta, basically just rehashed the blog post in which all of this was detailed. So a couple things here. The first is, if you are breached, don't lie about it. And it's okay to take the time to get your story straight. If your first communication has to be, we are investigating this, we are taking this seriously, but no, we are investigating this, and we are going to provide you with as much information as we can, as we get it, and as we can verify it. That is okay to say. What's not okay to say is in incident response, like, we are sure that we weren't breached. You're never sure. That's not a thing in the world of cybersecurity and defense. You're never sure. Evidence of absence, absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. So you cannot, unless you have a massive amount of data, be absolutely certain that there was no breach, especially if you haven't looked yet, which was what the case for Okta was. So that's part one. And part two is, the first thing that you need to do is provide ways to allow your customers to look for malicious activity. We never got Yara rules. We never got Sigma rules from them. We never got anything useful about how to look for this. That was all community generated. Myself and a few others were talking about how to do this, and there were Sigma rules already in the Sigma repo for looking for Okta behaviors that we were able to use. But that never came from Okta. So this is, as I said, a textbook case study in how not to handle an incident. The last piece I want to talk about with this story is the idea of bundled risk. Now, we all know, at least here in the United States, we all should remember how dangerous bundled risk is. Can I please check YouTube comments too? It's really hard for me to do that live on stream, but I'll do my best. Checking YouTube comments. Yeah, I'm not gonna Sorry, I know that there are a lot of YouTube viewers, but it's much easier for me to just look at the Twitch chat. That's just kind of how that works. But okay, so I want to talk about bundled risk. We in the United States, we all know how dangerous bundled risk can be if we think back to the financial crisis of 2008, which was brought on by bundled risk inside of these securities packages that included what were known as subprime mortgages, mortgages that were offered to homeowners that the the lenders knew would not be able to pay back the mortgage, pay back the loan, right? And so they were including that bundled risk inside of other more attractive financial products and selling them all together. And so the buyers never really knew how much risk was in the product that they were buying. That's kind of part one of this. And then, so part two is bundled risk is a huge problem in cybersecurity too. In this case, the bundled risk comes from the fact that when you work with a third-party service like Okta or a cloud service provider or whatever, in addition to the risk that you bring on from that platform and their technology, you are also including the risk of any of their subcontractors that have access to their administrative tools or privileged access to the platform in any way. And not every risk assessment, which should take place when you bring on a third-party tool like this, will cover in all detail those subcontractors. And so when you are working with these groups, it's really difficult to know how much access other people are going to have to your data and what kind of exposure you're going to have based on that access. So just something to think about. Ah, good. Thank you, Mr. KP007 has an off-topic question as usual for our YouTube comments. Look, here's how we do this. We have a thing that we're trying to do today, and if you have on-topic questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you have an off-topic question, and this really seems like a lot, super off-topic, I'm not about to give you research topics on web security here on stream. I ask you to join our Discord, in which you can ask as many questions as you like, and you're going to get a lot of help for things like that. You're more than welcome to join that community, but we kind of have a plan for today, and I want to stick to it. Speaking of our plan for today, so we're going to head over to some blue team challenge platforms, things that we used to do a lot on the stream, but ever since we brought up the home lab, we've been kind of chilling on those for a minute. I want to go back to them for a couple of reasons. One, there was a request to do so for a new challenge coming out from Rangeforce, and also because I want everyone to be able to participate in a lot of what we're doing. And the home lab stuff is obviously a little bit harder for everyone to participate in. The barrier to entry is a little bit higher. So let's go back and check out some of these. Excuse me. I think we'll start with the Rangeforce stuff, and then time permitting, and I think we should have time, we're going to also check out a DFIR case in Cyberdefenders, because we were doing DFIR 2 weeks ago, and it was a little bit onerous to get like live autopsy images from our home lab because it's so much data. So we have an image loaded up and ready to investigate here. So let's do that. Yeah, we don't all have an enterprise server at home. Exactly. But before we do any of that, OreoBite has requested a song. So we're going to get that going. Yep, OreoBite has requested a song, so let me get all that set up. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe this is the first song request ever on a Saturday stream. And OreoBite has a question as I'm setting this up. Reporting, when you have to jump, how do you handle damage control with incident response? It really is case by case. Oh, I'm at 101. Yeah, playbooks. But the thing is that playbooks, depending on how they've been written, can cannot have all the data that you need. There are other ways that, I mean, playbooks should be built in modular format. We'll talk a little bit more about that after the song. All right, let's see. The song's muted.
Okay, chat, can everybody hear me? Awesome. Okay, so this is a cover of a song by The Midnight. If you don't know The Midnight, you should. But it's a great theme for the city I live in. This song is called Los Angeles. Fire on the beach, face to the sky. The stars dance around like gods in disguise. The gold silhouette, you take off your clothes, and my heart feels the weight of all I don't know. Memories and mountaintops, drunk on Sunset Boulevard, with the city of angels singing on. Maybe this is just a dream, and maybe we are still asleep, but I'll miss you when I'm gone. Flickers of the canyon fire, our hands raised like a gospel choir. If we live forever, let us live forever tonight. Helicopters against the moonlight, our holy mother of the midnight. If we live forever, let us live forever tonight. We'll go back to our lives with sand in our skin, the sun in our eyes. But I know the truth, and I've seen the signs. I've seen the golden gods in the skies. Memories and mountaintops, drunk on Sunset Boulevard, with the city of angels singing on. Maybe this is just a dream, and maybe we are still asleep, but I'll miss you when I'm gone. Flickers of the canyon fire, our hands raised like a gospel choir. If we live forever, let us live forever tonight. Helicopters against the moonlight, our holy mother of the midnight. If we live forever, let us live forever tonight. Flickers of the canyon fire, our hands raised like a gospel choir. If we live forever, let us live forever tonight. Helicopters against the moonlight, our holy mother of the midnight. If we live forever, let us live forever tonight.
And we're back. Okay. Gotta turn my phone off from the camera before it kills the battery. I really got to get a second webcam that just points at the piano. Thank you, little Dee. Thank you, Cyberoflow. Glad you enjoyed it. Okay, so a couple of questions came in before we get started here. So, in terms of incident response, yeah, we have run books and things like that. And the trick with run books, though, I find is that they need to be, John Strand talks a lot about this, I think they need to be like Lego pieces. And what that means is that they have to be able to be modular enough that you can build out your response to fit the problem. If they're too prescriptive, if they're too monolithic, it will very often not fit the actual problem. So for example, you know, if you, would a ransomware runbook have made sense against Lapsus? The answer is no, because it wasn't actually ransomware. It was a totally different kind of thing, right? So make sure that you can build your procedures based on, you know, smaller operations that you can kind of mix and match to fit the actual problem that you're facing. In terms of learning platforms, I know there was a question about that from Cyberoflow. My favorite for Blue Team: Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, Blue Team Labs Online, Cyberdefender, Let Defend, Immersive Labs. I don't think there's a favorite. Honestly, they all have things that are good. They have things that are not so good. In terms of value for money, I also think that Blue Team, you know, it's funny. We kind of group these things, Blue Team, Red Team, but Blue Team is way too diverse to say one place is enough. So, for example, if you want to do DFIR, Cyberdefenders actually has some of the best material in terms of challenges, and that's why we're going to do some of that today. But in terms of training, that's a little bit harder to say. I don't think there is a good one for DFIR, to be honest with you. I've had to cobble together a bunch of stuff from many different sources, including from INE, right? I've had to pay for a lot of it for things like their incident response courseware and things like that. Memory forensics in particular is really tough to find good training on. In terms of threat hunting, sort of the same deal. But I do like what both Rangeforce and Cyberdefenders have in terms of the basics. And then I really don't know that there's a shortcut for it, honestly. I don't think Let's Defend is cool too for a SOC analyst. But honestly, I know I hate everyone. I hate to say this to people, but there is no shortcut for doing the work. And seeing it, not if you can't get to it in some sort of real life, but building out some version of a little lab on your own, just because getting your hands dirty with the whole stack does have value. In particular with a SIM. Although I will say that there's a lot more good Splunk training out there than there is pretty much anything else. Elk could do better. Yeah, I don't think there is a favorite platform, honestly, for me for this. I do think there's a lot of great stuff on Try Hack Me, but you got to be careful because the quality control on Try Hack Me is all over the map. Some of it is great and some of it is utterly broken. Looking at you, OS Query Room. Okay, so let's get started with our Rangeforce Community Challenge. This was a request that we do this, and we've done the Rangeforce Community Challenges before. Makeup video for cybersecurity students who are writing research papers. I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. KP007. That's probably not going to be something that I do in the near future. That's pretty narrow cast. Again, ask your questions in the Discord. You are going to get the information that you want. I did a double take for a second because I thought maybe I had my Vaporwave channel on instead of the Night Ride channel, but no. We're getting a little Vaporwave action here on Night Ride. That's cool. All right, so Rangeforce, we're starting up our malicious process challenge. So this is perfect. We're going to do some Splunk and Sysmon. They think it's a 45-minute challenge. I think we can do better than that. Hey, Cybercrime Unit, thank you for the follow. And Matt and OreoBite, of course, always thank you for the resubs. Yeah, the student Rangeforce, the student pricing is rough. I think they pivoted seriously to an enterprise pricing model. I actually was speaking with Rangeforce for a while about what it would be like for a small team to get a team subscription. And at that level, it does become a lot more affordable, but it's something that you have to kind of think about for your team. Take your time, Rangeforce. Oh, I wonder if I'm blocking anything. Possibly. Turn shields off for Rangeforce, see if it does. Have they forgotten what a student is? I mean, that's kind of how this goes, right? A lot of these platforms, the problem is that their operating expenses completely outstrip what their putative customers would be able to maintain, or they're price gouging, one or the other. But I do think in Rangeforce's case, they do have significant operating costs, because basically what they're doing here right now is they're spinning up a bespoke Azure VM just for me, and they're doing it on the fly. There's a lot of infrastructure that's going on in the background for this. So they have chosen a model that is very, very effective, but it's also really expensive. And also even the tools that they have inside of their inside these machines are pretty cool. They do this neat thing. I know SimSpace, where Husky works. I know that they do this cool thing where they live monitor the environment to watch for changes, and that's how your challenges actually get completed. Right, and that's exactly right. Okay, so let's take a look at what this challenge actually is now that this thing is up and running. What is this? What? Why is this happening? Little stick figures just, it looks like they're about to do the fusion dance. What? Oh, they move? But why? That's super distracting. I gotta move this window over that. That's crazy. Okay. You've just been given your first task as a junior SOC analyst. One of the company's Windows 10 boxes is acting funny. 2 stick figures are dancing on the... Oh. So I'm on the system. 2 stick figures are dancing on the desktop wallpaper. There was a security breach a while back where a malicious actor gained access to the company network. It has been established that he also had secure shell access to this box. Aha! Secure shell on Windows. That's fun. Your assignment is to find out how these stick figures got onto the desktop. You've been provided access to a Splunk instance that has all the sysmon logs from the Windows 10 box fed into it. As a bonus, the company's SOC engineer has configured sysmon to log all the workstation's desktop registry key changes. Good. All the keys that contain control panel desktop are additionally being logged. This should make things easier for you. Okay. Well, let's fire this up and see what we have. So we're going to log into Splunk at splunk.lab. It's always wild to me that they let this happen, because this thing straight up has internet access. I get why, but man, kind of insane to me that they'll just like give you their VM. Because you know what I mean? Like that's handy. You could ostensibly set up a burner account and just use their infrastructure. Admin Rangeforce. Okay. All right, let's see what we got. We begin as we begin all good things in the name of the index equals star pipe stats count by source type sort minus count. Okay. 6,200 events. This is a little baby. Hey, Deb, thank you so much for the follow. All right, so check it out. We've got win event log security, sysmon operational, system auth, event log application setup. Okay, so that's cool. For 6,200 events, let's just look at everything on the timeline. See if there's anything spiky. You know, start big, go small. Okay, so July 2021, and then there's some February 2022 stuff and March 2022 stuff, December 21. Ostensibly, this is where we're going to be looking, is this July 2021. But we don't know yet. Oh, no. That's why the music was so weird. We were in the middle of somebody's live show. In which directory are the new wallpaper images located? Okay, so the first thing we need to know is where the desktop registry, the desktop image registry is set. So we're going to go looking for that. And this will fail because we need to escape our backslashes. Nothing. All right, let's just look for wallpaper. Okay, here we go. So we've got 58 events, and we're going to see they're in reverse time order. So what we want to do is we want to pipe this to reverse so that we see it became 60 events. Ansible did this. Okay, I think we want to look first. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to narrow it down by source type. So it looks like sysmon is where we want to be. So we're going to add that to our search. And this is one thing I don't love about how Splunk does this. If you do an add to search and you have pipes in your search, it doesn't really know how to do that. So I'm just going to take that and put that up here. Okay. So the first thing that we see is that Powershell invoked this thing. Event code 13, so registry change. PowerShell did it. And so we have some notes that we can take here as we chase this down. The process ID 6284 is going to become useful for us in a minute because we want to see what else that PowerShell instance did. But obviously, we found it. So C users contoso admin app data local temp. And in fact, since we're on this machine, let's see if those things are still there. C users contoso admin app data. I could have just gone app data, but app data. Are you kidding me? Users contoso admin app data. Hey, local temp. There they be. Okay, so we found the images. So basically, there's a little script that is changing the desktop background between these two guys every couple of seconds, right? So the question was, in which directory are the new wallpaper images located? So we have that. What is the process ID of the process that is switching the two wallpaper images? Actually, we have that, maybe too. 6284. What we're going to do is we're going to look for a process ID. Of 6284. See what else is going on there. 302 events. What we're going to do is table image parent command line parent image parent command line. Oh, you know what? I should have done time event code. There we go. Okay, so we've got some file createds. I want to be in verbose mode. Thank you very much. Chat, what's the difference between fast mode and verbose mode? Do I use Splunk in my day job? I use Splunk every day. Yes. You know what? Let's slow that down. Let's slow down what's going on here with Splunk. We've done a bunch of Splunk on this channel, but it's always good to review the basics. So I want to search across every index. I don't actually have to do that at this point. I can make this a little bit faster because obviously my sysmon stuff is coming from a single index, which is main. So if I wanted to speed up my queries, I can actually change index equals star. That's like a naive search. But now we know that it's in main, so that actually makes the search faster. And then, you know, process ID, now that we have that, is 6284. That's a parsed field, so we can hit that. However, this is actually in the wrong order. You definitely don't want it there. You want it here. Because if it's searching for process ID first, it's going to search first across source types that may not have a process ID field, which is dumb. So the order of your query actually has a performance impact on you. So you want to think big to little, and you want to say, okay, I can filter down by index, and then I filter down by source type. And then, okay, now that I'm in stuff that I know is going to have a process ID, hit up that process ID. That's where we start here. Then, I actually kind of want to, there we go. I like it this way. I'm reversing the results because they are, by default, in descending time order, but I actually want to see what happened first from an incident response perspective. So I want to see what happened first, so I put it in actual chronological order. This is the default view. This is kind of the event view, which is going to give me the timestamp and then the event, and then I can kind of get the raw log here. Good God, we're going to have to cyber chef that in a second. But that's the raw. The table command means that I can specify what columns I want to see. The underscore time is the built-in timestamp. That's when the log event was generated. Not necessarily, this is important to note, not necessarily when the Windows event log happened. That would be the time created field. Probably shouldn't have chosen that, but that's the time created field, which should be there, but or the UTC time, which isn't going to be the same. It might be off by a second or two. So this is 5:34:55 p.m. and the UTC time is 30. Okay, so within a milliseconds, but it is not necessarily the same depending on how your ingestion is going. Hey, HR Tesh-san, thank you so much for the follow. Gaius, thank you for the follow. Does a second matter? It really can. Yes, it can. Because when you are looking at a Windows, any system, but Windows in particular, it can be noisy as hell. And if you really want to zoom in on something like that, you absolutely may be within the space of a second. I have definitely been within the space of a second looking for activity. And so yes, a second can matter, depending on how zoomed in you are. So I'm tabling to time event code, which is the event ID from Sysmon or any Windows event log. The image, which is the running process really that got loaded to run the event, or that triggered the event. The command line, if it was a command line operation. The parent image and the parent command line. Now, some of these are only going to exist on certain event IDs, like event ID 1 for process created, but I wanted them anyway, and I might want another one as well, right? Which, like, target object for the registry stuff. And there should be a file name for the file createds, but we'll go into that in just a second. But the question about fast versus verbose mode. So when I ask for a table or any other kind of statistical rendering, you'll notice that I have a statistics tab over here. If I ask for this in fast mode, the events themselves, the raw events, will not be loaded. Let's show that. If I go back to smart or fast mode, right? So fast mode for sure. I can't, like, events ain't there because I didn't load the data. In smart mode, it depends, basically. But again, because I asked for stats, it didn't load the raw event. If I know for sure that I want the raw event, then I go to verbose mode so that I can toggle between my statistics view and the raw event to go deeper. The reason why you'd want the fast and smart modes, of course, is because if you're loading a ton of events at first, you want to use the stats view so that it returns faster just the data that you need. And then once you find a smaller set of events that you want to investigate, then you can go into verbose mode. So obviously we have a lot of interesting stuff going on here. We've got a bunch of, now these are 503 events, right? If we want to see a little bit more in detail what's going on here, what we might do is, and in fact, I'm going to duplicate this tab. Nope, I duplicated the wrong thing. It was one level too high. There we go. I duplicated my actual browser, not the Rangeforce browser. So what I'll do here is I'm going to leave this as it is. But over in this one, what I want is I want to see a stats count by event code. I want to see what kinds of things it was doing, and I'm going to sort minus count. So descending, most event codes of a type first. So a ton of so a lot of registry changes, which makes sense. There were five file creations. So I want to just see those. And then there was one process creation, which is interesting. That, again, this process started a new one. That is something we'll want to take a look at. And then one network connection. So I want to take a look at these. This is 7 events total. So let's just take a look at those. To do that, what we're going to do is in parens, event code equals 1 or event code equals 3 or event code equals 7. Nope, 11. 7. What's our time window here? 534. Yeah, what's the whole span here? 534.55 to 534.57. So 2 seconds. Remember when we said a second matters? There you go. All right. Now, this is again in descending order because I forgot to reverse it. So let's see what's up. So the first thing that happened was a process creation. Okay, we gotta get this. We gotta get this raw data here. So we're gonna toss this over to CyberChef. And since we've talked about this a bunch of times on stream, I wonder if someone can tell me what are the 2 recipes, or what are the 2 operations that I have to put into my CyberChef recipe to successfully decode this PowerShell. Cue Jeopardy music. I'm looking for the 2 operations I need to put in this recipe to turn this into readable text, properly readable text. Just crickets. All right. Nobin has it. So not well, almost. So everybody knows from base 64. That's real good. And that kind of works. But as we've discussed many times on this stream, we have a problem. Yep, we have an encoding issue. That's right. We need to encode the text as UTF-16 little endian. Whoops, decode text. As UTF-16 little endian. Oh, that's gonna be bad. Not big endian, little endian. There we go. And here's why. So Windows encodes text as wide characters, right? 16 bits rather than 8 bits. And so that's why without this, if we turn this one off, we see the dots, right? Or it's just like, it's not readable. Yeah, we see the dots here, and that's because this is every character has the ASCII character, but then it has an additional 8 bits of something else, right? Which is, it's actually a null byte, basically. But that's why it shows as a dot. So this says, yeah, you want to encode it as UTF-16 little endian. And that gives us some PowerShell to read. I'll just open up PowerShell ISE and run it here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I will just fire it up in Notepad, though. Just so we can read it. Do they give us Visual Studio Code? No. Bummer. Very clearly written. No obfuscation whatsoever. That's super kind of them. Thank you very much. So function set wallpaper. So the PowerShell, this is interesting. So this is the function definition. John wanted to pipe some code straight to bash. Right, so this is PowerShell. Oh, and there's more encoded base 64 right in here. Dance till you drop. Awesome. And look, so the registry path and the name, so we got a lot of good data coming from here. Hey, Eli Wedgenack, thank you. I'm sure I mispronounced that, but thank you for the follow all the same. All right, let's go get this data as well. We'll decode this. We may be going further, I should say, than we need to. Looks like there's some data in here that we want to take a look at. Updated roaming Microsoft. What is that? Do we still... Oh, we closed the file browser. Annoying, but that's fine. I do that all the time, by the way. I will close a file browser window way before I need it to be closed. Let's go to app data. In case you didn't know, environment variables work in this bar, so you can do like %app data. Roaming. Microsoft. What the hell is this? Just base 64 all the way down. Oh, so this is actually the function. This is it. So, okay, so it's the same thing. There's a base 91 encoding. I mean, there's ostensibly a base as many characters in the Unicode table as there could be, right? You can create your own. You can, and malicious actors have created their own encodings for all sorts of stuff. You could create an encoding that does essentially, you know, emoji as digit values if you wanted to. It would be gigantic, but you could do it. Okay. Let's return to the questions being asked. Oh yeah, we actually had this, right? 6284 is, I believe, the process that they're after. Yes. Okay, good. What is the malicious script that is being executed? So we actually found that, right? Which is right here. If you read the malicious script or track the suspicious registry key changes carefully, you should find out how the malicious script is being executed. What is the registry key value name that is being exploited for persistence? Now, they either mean, we have this in Notepad, the full path to here, or they mean dance till you drop. I'm pretty sure they mean dance till you drop, but if not, we'll put in the full path. They meant dance till you drop. And that's it. We're done. Yes, you were right about the persistence killer. That was a... Okay. I mean, I thought that was pretty good. I'll give it 4 stars. That was fun. I would love to see something other than base 64 in one of these. Like, make me find an AES key and decrypt it or something like that. That would be kind of cool. We could shut this down. I believe that I should have a 100% on that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, I promise that the next thing that we do today is going to be way more annoying and harder. Also, I have to tell you, it's going to be a little bit hard to see if you're not in full screen on the video. I hate to say that, but unfortunately, Autopsy doesn't let me change font sizes. So if I need to use the magnifier for stuff, I will. But yeah, just a heads up on that. Isn't the other PowerShell payload where you need to base 64 decode it and unzip it? I didn't see anything that needed to be unarchived there. It was all plain text. Now, they didn't ask us to, I will say this about the challenge. They didn't ask us to walk it back far enough, honestly, which is that they told us that this user had SSH access. Tell us to go find that. Are you kidding me? Let us go find the SSH access. Let us go all the way back to, you know, initial compromise and find out what was going on, because we were so locked in on those dancing images. There may have been other stuff. And that's something to be aware of when you're doing incident response or threat hunting, but definitely incident response is target fixation. You will very easily start chasing something down, and it may even be valuable. But the attackers may not have taken one path, so you shouldn't either. As you go down, you want to backtrack every so often to just kind of zoom out and say, okay, what else might I have missed as I went down this rabbit hole? What else could the attacker have done? Go back to the beginning and try to follow the path again, see if there are any other places that the attacker may have gone. It's far too easy to just say, aha, I found the thing. Because real life is not a CTF challenge. It is not necessarily going to be a linear path that you follow. So just be aware of that as you're doing incident response. It's a discipline of mind that takes a while to develop, and it took me a long time to develop it. But you have to always be kind of zooming in and out on your timeline to think about, okay, I need to deeply investigate this thing. Now I need to back out and see how that applies to the whole story. And is that the entire story indeed, or are there other parts that I haven't seen yet? All right, let's shut this down. The next thing that we're going to do today is the Detect Log4j challenge from Cyberdefenders. I already have this downloaded and queued up because it's a bunch of data. Right? The download is like 2.8 gigs, and then you got to unzip it and then load it into Autopsy. It's a whole thing. But what we're doing here, there should be challenge details. For the last week, this came out in January 2022. So this is talking about Log4Shell. So for the last week, Log4Shell vulnerability has been gaining much attention, not for its ability to execute arbitrary commands of a vulnerable system, but for the wide range of products that depend on the Log4j library. Many of them were not known until now. We created a challenge to test your ability to detect, analyze, mitigate, Oxford, comma, and patch products vulnerable to Log4Shell. So they're using Arsenal and Registry Explorer, Reg Ripper, Event Log Explorer, DNSpy. Those are all cool. We're going to start, though, with Autopsy because they gave us a disk image. We want to see what's going on there. All right, so I have this loaded up in Autopsy, and I have so I downloaded the disk image, I added it as a case, And now we're just kind of at the starting point in autopsy. This is what you see by default. And as I said, unfortunately, it's a little small. Over on the left-hand side, we have data sources, views, file types, deleted, exit metadata, encryption suspected, all these kind of areas that I've run ingestions to look for. So lots of interesting stuff in here. Extension mismatch detected, that might be interesting. Encryption suspected is always fun. And I always like to look at web history and things like that just to see if something came from the internet that might be malicious. Now, we don't know, in fact, what the situation was. Usually when we get a DFIR case, we know kind of like what the end result was, right? Whether it's ransomware or missing data or a totally obliterated system and we have to do data recovery, whatever it is, we know what the endpoint is and we're looking for the cause. That's not the case with this challenge, right? Because they just said, hey, go look for Log4j. Okay. I mean, that gives me a couple of hints to go looking for stuff, but it's kind of walking us through what are the things that we want to do first. So what is the computer's host name? Lots of ways that we can look at that. Let's take a look at this in autopsy here. Consari.exe. The hell is this? Here we go. Operating system information. So name, domain, version. So here we go. This is where we're starting to get information from the system registry key, or the system registry hive, and the software. So, and then operating system user accounts, also super handy. You can see where we're pulling it from the SAM file. Look at all these users that we have. vSphere is interesting. So there's VMware stuff going on as well. Lots of users on this machine. That's a lot of users. That's a lot of users on this machine. Why are there password hints on LinkedIn? What is happening with this? I have to know. I have to know. These are real people, I think. Or it's a very detailed SOC. Anyway, first question was, what is the computer's host name? We found that in operating system information. And this is a good thing that you're going to want to find, right? Host name, all this information. This is a great place to start. Top level stuff. Hey, Angel. Yeah, IP is going to be a little bit trickier because we're not going to see it here. We're going to see it in other things because of network connections, right? This is a disk image. So we'll see it in certain registry keys, and we'll see it maybe in network information. What is the time zone of the compromised machine? Oh, that is in the registry. We may have to pull this into RegRipper to get the rest of the data that we want. This could have done better. We have the data though, right? Yeah, we have the files. Let's go to System 32. I forget where Sam lives right off the top, but we definitely have the SAM data. In fact, wait, I'm being stupid. Look. View source file and directory. There we go. There it is. And we can actually should be able to read the data right in here. If we know where to look for it. So that's a good question. Let's go find out. Windows registry time zone. MT HKLM Microsoft Windows NT current version. There it is. Thank you, docs.microsoft.com. HKLM software Microsoft Windows NT current version time zones. So we are looking for software. Windows NT current version and time zones. Time zones. And the value is but that's not where that's where they're stored. Where's the actual? You'll find display contains your standard name. Okay, so there's another key in here that has what I need. No? You'll find display contains your standard name. DLT contains your daylight time. Hey, Nick and Nubin, thank you so much for the follow. Standard name, DLT contains your daylight name. Okay, so we have it, but it's like kind of a pain. My least favorite thing is indeed may be reading registry data from Autopsy for exactly this reason. If I have to, I'll use Regripper outside. Oops, sorry. I'll use Regripper outside of Autopsy to deal with this. It's inside of Kali, so I can copy it over. I guess I should get my Kali machine running. CyberOflow has HKLM local machine system select. Now, would that be... That should have been in default, I think. Hold on a second. Tools. Run ingest modules. We kind of already did that. Okay, so we may have to look at the standard start. Ah, we can look at it. Yeah, too much hassle. You and I just found it at the same time. HKLM current control set control time zone information. That's better. So let's go back to system. Control set control. Time zone information. Hey. There it is. Time zone key name. Pacific Standard Time. That's much easier. Okay. Which is UTC minus 7 or 8 depending on the time of the year. Okay. What's the current build number? Okay, well, I think we actually had that from the operating system information, right? Did we not? Ah, so annoying. Okay. Well, back we go to the registry. No, we want software, Microsoft, Windows. I don't know if it's going to be Windows or Windows NT. Windows NT, current vision. There we go. Current build, 14393. What is the computer IP? Now we're getting into it. Nito, yes. So the way that Autopsy works is you give it either a physical disk, bad idea, or a disk image, good idea, and it will import the data. It almost works like a video editor where you need the source available, but it will also kind of ingest and create its own database of information, adding metadata and running what are called ingest modules that look for specific things. And so all the data that you're seeing, not in here, but all the data that you're seeing in here, the results, the extracted content, that's all coming from those ingest modules. And there are, I think, third-party ones that you can get, but the defaults are pretty good. There are some that you don't have to run. So, for example, run ingest modules. You can see that some of them, like recent activity, hash lookup, those are all great. Some of them are less useful, like the DJI drone analyzer. It's not a drone, and it's not Android or iOS, so be aware that you might not need all of these to run, and there is a Yara analyzer, by the way, for those of you who are interested in Yara rules. In order to make that happen, we're not doing it for this, but in order to make Yara rules happen, you're going to go to Tools and Options and choose Yara rule sets, and then you can add a folder to look for Yara rule sets, and you can run those Yara rules against the entire system right in Autopsy. If you know a kind of thing that you're looking for, like a specific flavor of ransomware or something, that is crazy useful. I really like doing that. Okay. Back to Googling for registry keys. This is one that I look up every time I have to do it. TCP/IP parameters. Thank you. So we're back in system. Current control set, services, TCP/IP parameters. Okay. So back to system. And let me drag this up a little bit. Yeah, system, control set. Services, TCP/IP. Parameters 192.168.112.2. I'm sorry, what? Oh, that's the DHCP server. Duh. Interfaces. Do you have to scroll, can't type the first letter, and be auto-moved? Maybe I can, Killer. This is kind of just a me thing. Here's why I don't always do that. 2 reasons. 1, I forget. And 2, I actually like to see, at least at a glance, everything that's in there. I have not a totally photographic, but almost photographic memory, which means that if I see language in particular, I see words, they'll stick in my brain. And so having that experience actually is really helpful for me so that I'll know where to look for something next time because I've seen it before. That's why I do it. I want to ingest that information rather than miss it as I cut right to the location. Here we go. 192.168.112.139. What is the domain the computer was assigned to? Man, we had that elsewhere, right? I think we had that in the domain information. Or, sorry, in the operating system information. Nope. Definitely didn't. You saw the domain field? Maybe I just didn't look closely enough. Yep, cyberdefenders.org. Thank you. Thank you. Here's what happened. I was looking for something that wasn't branded Cyberdefenders. Ah, finally, out of the registry for a second. When was my Yusuf user created? So we're going to go to our user accounts. Always be branding. M Yusuf. Created. Thank you. Don't do that. I hate that so much. If you're gonna ask for a flag, yeah. Don't change the format from what you actually get from this. So, okay. I think we have to convert it because it's in Pacific time. So, so +8. So that's 1228 plus 06 UTC. I did that right. I see 2 stars right here, killer. Oh my god. Okay. Whatever. I don't know what was different there. It was like a space difference or something. What is the user M Hassan password hint? Yeah, well, we found all those already. What is the version of the VMware product installed on the machine? All right, now we're going to go over to installed programs. Beautiful. So we have VMware vCenter, and it looks like most of these we're showing the same version for a lot of these. The 6.7.0.40322. So we're going to chance that one. It doesn't want the V. Look, if the versioning name has a V in it, again, don't... Cyberdefenders, I beg you, do not arbitrarily change the flag format from the data that you're getting or that you're providing. Why would you do that? What is the version of the log4j library used by the installed VMware product? That one, we're going to go to the disk. See, program files, x86 VMware. Hold on, let's go back to install programs. Where is that VMware Center, vServer? All right, time to search VMware. Oh, we can do a regular expression. That's interesting. I may very well do that. Take your time. Oh, one thing that's kind of funny is Autopsy will show notifications as mail, like up here. I don't know why that's true, but it is true. It just occurred to me that I should have just looked for log4j, huh? It was in program files. Why did I not see that? VMware. VMware Center, vCenter server. Let's go. Common jars. Hey, log4j. Interesting. Okay. Let me zoom in on this. Computer enhance. Log4j. Now, interestingly, log4j core. So, which of these is vulnerable? No, they didn't. I mean, which of these is vulnerable to the original, the OG log4shell? The first one, interestingly, no, because log4j Log4j version 1 was actually not vulnerable to this issue. Version 2 was. So the concern here is core 2.11.2, I'm pretty sure. Other way around, too much hassle, greater than 2.11. Yeah. Yeah, weirdly, Log4Shell 1 was too old to be impacted by this. So 2.11.2, yeah, is the one that we're concerned about. What is the Log4j library log level specified in the config file? Okay, interesting. So we're gonna go back up to vCenter server. Let's see, VMware, vCenter server. What do we think? What do we think? Maybe the Apache Tomcat? Conf, here we go. Logging.properties. Doesn't look like they've changed the default, so would it be fine? No. Oh, nope, there it is. Info. Just need to read. So, that might have seemed a little fast. Let me tell you about, if you're not familiar with VMware or logging or servers or anything, like, how did I find that? My thought process was, okay, Log4j is logging data based on a Java application. The Java application that we know that VMware is running is the Apache Tomcat server that provides the web interface. Okay, so that's why I went to Apache Tomcat to look for this thing. And then in our folders that we have for Apache Tomcat, we have binaries, conf, lib, temp, and then web apps. So in conf, I was hoping that I would find some kind of configuration file for this, and indeed I did. Interesting that yeah, these are always fun because you want to see the Tomcat manager password if it's in there. Yeah. Awesome. This is all commented out. Yeah, so they didn't include the manager GUI in this one. Good to know. Anyway, that's how we found that. Moving right along. The attacker exploited Log4Shell through an HTTP login request. What is the HTTP header used to inject the payload? Okay, I happen to know this one because of doing the work, but let's go find it. I just want to make sure. I want to test if I do know what this is off the top of my head. Yes. Okay, let's go find it. Where is that going to be? That's going to be in the logs. So we want to look for things that have... I don't actually know where the logs are going to go inside of VMware. Check the config file. Yeah, it's a good call. Yeah, you would think that maybe logging.properties has path. Catalina base / log. So where is the Catalina base? Catalina jar. Nick and Maggio, thank you so much for the follows. So, I know this is tiny. Let me... this one I can zoom in for you. Hooray! But what we're not seeing... So, Catalina base / logs. Can we not search in the index text pane? What we can do, we actually can't search in here. Catalina properties. No. Catalina policy. Java home / lib. Angel's got us with the Catalina base and Catalina home properties. The Catalina base is optional, so it's an environment variable. If you're running multiple instances. Running.txt. Okay, let's take a look at running.txt, which we did see. Awesome. Thank you. On Windows, Catalina base bin set m.bat. Program files jar JRE7. God, freaking Java. Sharma, thank you for the follow. Catalina base lib will be added to the common class path. Chilling, just trying to finish this Cyberdefenders challenge, and I hate Java. I hate Java so much. I hated Java before Log4j. Catalina base conf Catalina. The set is absent at the script account. Program files. Is it in program files Java? No. It might be in JRE though. JRE. Lib. No. It's unhelpful. So, it's a property referred to as an environment variable. Yeah, it is. Hold on. It just, like, it's plainly using its own version of the JRE, right? So it's not like C program files Java or anything, right? No, no, nope. Nope. Okay, so let me see the Tomcat conf. It's not if we look at the no, it's not there. Server.xml. This is the actual like server config. Yeah. Catalina base /conf/web XML. So look, this kind of tells us that the Catalina base is where we are. Logging.properties. Right. Catalina base /logs, which isn't here. Okay, I'm doing something stupid. I'm looking for HTTP logs anywhere on the system. Actually, let me kill this search. Let's search for X forwarded for. Boom. That was fast. These are in jars, though. This is actual code. This is Python. That's unhelpful. Can I make it case insensitive? No. Well, I guess we could do it this way. Or X forwarded for. Unless it's weird about its regular expressions. This is a weird one. The attacker used the... Hold on. So what does the HTTP, what does the hint say? But I know. Oh, wait a second. Is it not actually here? They just wanted us to Google for it? I'm just wasting my time looking for logs that aren't there? That's asinine. Okay. Huntress Labs. Yeah. I mean, look, this is something that does, like, if the purpose of the exercise is to teach you DFIR, then use the disk image as the base of the challenges. Yes, you have to Google stuff sometimes, but like, that's my issue here. The attacker used log. Okay, so what is the first link of the log for Huntress payload? The first link. Do they mean like this? Google for the path and look for that pattern. I don't know what you mean by that, Angel. Huntress.com. Oh, is it log for? Is that what they want? Like this? Nobuchi Kagenoza, can you teach me Elk configuration? Go check out the YouTube channel. We've done plenty of stuff on Elk, and we will do some more. What is the first link of the Huntress payload? Unless they mean this. Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, maybe. I'm now working under the assumption that they are not using the disk anymore. Thank you for the follow, Nobuchi. Docs, Jindy, yeah. We're not seeing log files here. Which would make sense. There have to be logs somewhere, though. When was the first successful login to vSphere web? Hold on. For Huntress. That's a pretty unique term. Hey! Wait. Unhelpful. Is it a word list? What are they saying here? Check VMware logs. I am. Let's just look for every log folder on the system. Yeah, see? Catalina base logs. So we should be seeing it in VMware. Ticker, thank you. cprogram VMware vCenter server logs. Okay. Yep. So VMware vCenter server. No logs folder. Oh, see program data. Thank you. Thank you. Center server logs. Look at that. All right. Yeah, we do. And what do we want? We want to see... No. vSphere UI. There's command line flags, runtime, standard. No. Ooh, wait. Thought I saw Tomcat config. Access. Yes. Finally. Okay. HTTP request log. Nope. Event log. Nope. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting there too, Killer. Export the log and grep for it. I think that's where I'm going. So I'm actually going to export the whole logs folder. And what we can do is extract files. And that will export into a subfolder here. And so I'm going to take my handy dandy WSL and MMT learning Cyberdefenders Powershell. Export. All right. And let's just look for the files that we have. Just the one? What about G&D? Let's look for G&D anywhere in here. Nothing. What about Huntress? Also nothing. Seems unlikely. So that was in VMware VPX, right? And it was a VPX d1.dump. All right, let's run it without the L to see the actual match. Binary file. Yeah, that's not helpful. Okay. What is the first link at the log? No, it's got to be in here. All right, let's find out. Logs access. vSphere client, maybe? Here we go. Here we go. We're seeing the health status stuff. We saw this before. But we're only seeing the... If the payload is in the header, then the log will show that. Yeah, exactly. But you know where it should show it in errors, right? Because... there should be an error log somewhere in here. It doesn't really have network traffic the way that you think about it here. Oh, interesting. I wonder if it's in... Look at this. So the web history has in vCenter logs SSO. Nope. Is the attack actually in here? No external logs, just the just this. Well, we actually have that here. Look, we have that from the logins, right? Look at this. You guys are all over the map right now. Look, this is this machine's host name. So somebody was on this machine accessing this itself. Right? This is host vcw65.cyberdefenders.org. So if we go back to our logs, we were looking in HTTP logs. We should maybe look in SSO logs or auth logs. That might be a different place to look. Let's go back to program data. VMware logs. VMware VG auth. No. vCenter server. Logs. SSO. VMware. No. vSphere UI. Okay, we're getting session IDs. Path, secure, HP only. I want to see error logs. So I'm going to find in this current folder name error. We have VMware VPX uptime error and then VPXD services startup error. Let's check out VMware VPX. VMware VPX uptime error. Nothing at all. So it was just the, yeah, it was just the name of the folder. All right, let's back this up. Let's go back to web history. There's our first login right here. And it came from Mozilla Firefox data, which I don't think contains headers either. All right, let's think this through. The SAML request here is not going to have the data that we're looking for because, well, at least I don't think it does. this base 64 encoded stuff. This SAML request is, you know, wherever it's going. But the first login was, okay, December 28th, 2021, 3:11 PST. So 11/11/21. Let's see if we can make that happen. Why is this different now? 12/28 12/28 2021 12/2021, and then 11/11/21. No? What was the first successful login? Ah, because then we got an error back. Or 20. So 8, 12. 12/20/21. Check the VMware logs. Okay, I'm deeply confused at what we're supposed to do here. I'll eat some points to find out about this. Program data VMware vCenter server runtime VMware STS service. vCenter server runtime VMware STS service. So did we extract the wrong file? Yeah, here we go. Look at this. That is a confusing place to look. But look at this. This is the good stuff. Okay. Got him. There it is. That's the URL. There's the first link to the Log4Shell Huntress payload. Yep, that's why I didn't find Jindy. It should have found Huntress, though, because that wasn't obfuscated. Uh, 12/29, 140, 155. So these are in descending time order. I feel like audit events is where we're going to find this here. So let's extract that file here. Okay, let's find our first example of Huntress. Yeah. And when was the first successful login to vSphere? So that we should also be able to pull from SSO admin server. No? VMware Identity STS. SSO. Nope. Is it all going to be in audit events? SSO login failure. By the way, these are all coming from 192.168.112.128, right? It's coming from this machine. So, right? That was our IP address. Oh, no, it's not. This is 139, so it is a different machine. Okay. Which means we're not going to see it in our web history. We're going to have to see it elsewhere. Logs. Runtime. Nope. Access log. Shouldn't we see outbound connections in Windows logs? Not the way that you think, Angel. Without sysmon enabled, you're not going to see a bunch of that stuff, at least not clearly. One, 2, 168, 112, 139, 112, 168, 112, 130. This is all okay. That's localhost. That's not really what I want. I want the actual access log. Well, that actually we may have found elsewhere, right? So if we look for in logs, no, nothing there. VM server logs. There it is. Okay, so look here, and we look for. It was like, what is it? This is your client. Do we find access? This is localhost access.log. 192. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So we're finding. Look at this. We've got 192.168.112.128s coming in. These are 400s though. That's no good. So where was our vSphere UI? Access. No. Actual runtime. vSphere client. Nope. vSphere UI. No. The first successful login. Oh, it must have been this, right? So logged in with response code 200. what is the first successful login to vSphere web client, was here. And that should be in UTC, actually. Whatever. Okay. 192.168.112.128. We know the attacker's IP. What is the port the attacker used to receive the Cobalt Strike reverse shell? Ooh. That's interesting. What is the port the attacker used to retrieve the Cobalt Strike reverse shell? Let's take a look at the payload here. There's Burp Collaborator. So Huntress was used for test, and then the final thing we have here in the logs is there was a burpcollaborator.net, and then Tomcat. But that's, again, I think that's just a test. Because Burp Collaborator will show you responses, but it's not an active team server. Or anything. We should see a port for LDAP. So here's the thing, though. LDAP is not going to be the capture for the it depends on how they mean it, because the LDAP, if you remember how the Cobalt Strike or how the Log4Shell attack worked, is you have to set up an LDAP server to listen, and then that sets up like you download like an arbitrary new class. Inside of that class will contain the actual network information that you want to use to like execute code. And so that we haven't seen yet. At least I don't think we have. Unless they mean 1389. No, I don't think they do. I'm not being stupid about it, no. Redirects the payload back to the host and executes the Java payload. Right, and the Java payload is where the team server details are going to be. What is this? Just a share file, huh? What you got for me, socials.txt? Oh, recent documents. Hi there. Interesting. Where's that link? Socials. Shared folders, just a share file. Socials.txt. But it's to VMware host shared folders, so it's on a share that we don't have. I don't think. Yeah, no, we don't have that. Like, we have these LNKs for it, but we don't actually have the file itself, right? Networking, NetBIOS, VMware shared folders, VMware host. Yeah, we don't have that here. Suspicious, but not something we can get a handle on. Oh, we do have PowerShell events. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Let's go to our timeline here. Timeline is actually a little bit nicer. Let's go to December 2021, because we know that that's pretty much everything that is interesting. Do we have PowerShell anywhere in here? Things. Okay, not really though. I want to see program execution. Show me program execution. Sure. Give me all this. What? All right, what program execution do we have? We do have, even without looking for PowerShell, we see that we have PowerShell stuff in here. You can kind of see what's going on here. We have file created, file accessed, file modified. Interesting. We are going to have to go get We're going to have to go get stuff from the file system and then read it elsewhere. So let's close out of the timeline. Welcome to DFIR. So this is going to be in the Windows System 32 config folder. Right, we've got logs, applications security. Do we have? Now, if PowerShell logging is enabled, there is a built-in PowerShell log, and I always forget where it lives. This is my own Windows event viewer, okay? So it's a different thing than, what we have set up here. PowerShell is not enabled. Oh, there it is. PowerShell. There we go. System 32 Win EVT logs Windows PowerShell. Thank you. So, Win EVT. There we go. Logs. And Windows. Microsoft Windows. Come on. Are we lucky enough to have Sysmon? No, of course not. But we do have PowerShell. I hope. PowerShell operational. There we go. So what we can do is we can extract this file and go look at that thing and see if that has anything for us. Awesome. Execute a remote command. Oh, look what we have here. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Look at this. So with the PowerShell logs, now we see base64 encoded data. These look very similar. 5609. Okay, so yeah. Nothing until the very end here. Execute a remote command. Let's take a look at this base64 encoded data. We'll go ahead and use CyberChef. rid of this right here. From base 64. Oh boy. It's XOR, do you think? GZ decompress? Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Good call. Now we have more to do here. So this is the next bit of code here. Looks like it starts the same way actually with the EID, which isn't surprising. Okay, let's just duplicate that. I think we'll remove the gunzip for this one. Okay, just kidding. No. It's the shell code. Yeah. Is it? Windows NT, yeah. Oh no, here we go. So user agent. We've got strings in it. 192.168, 112.128. Yeah. C2 server IP. Yeah. What is the port? We don't have the port though. As it's a beacon shellcode, extract the malleable C2 profile. Yeah, here we go. That's what I was looking for. Let's help us out. Does anyone else have a better just check the question. Don't wink at me, Angel. Yeah. What was the port the attacker used? To receive the Cobalt Strike reverse shell. Well, it's 4 digits, so it's not 443. We could, like, it's nothing cute like that. So, check timestamp in audit events. .log. Support the attacker user. So, it said check the timestamp in audit events.log. Okay, well, now let's go back to our log folder. VMware. We were looking in vCenter server, runtime, STS logs, audit events.log, right? Yes. And the Cobalt Strike parser, yeah. Okay, so 1229, 150 Zulu. Oop. All right, let's take a look at this. I like this one. Yeah. Thank you, Sentinel-1. All right, let's go ahead and clone this. Okay. Let's see what it wants. This can be a file path or a URL. State, memory dumps are C2 URLs with Metasploit compatibility mode. No. PE so the beacon code itself is stored in the data section in Xord. So if we just get the... you're thinking this is it? Okay. Nah, it's not there. It's... I mean, what we have, if we look at the event logs, is convert from base. So this is compilers. Is that a .NET assembly? No. Compile assembly from source. Buffer. Create thread. Yeah. This is it. This is it. This is definitely it. But you're right that it's not, what is it? Is it, so byte var codes from base 64 string. Nope. It's weirdly good here. And inet.avi. System. Yeah. So we're copying it to the buffer. We create a thread. And then, yeah, we wait for the single object thread to allow non-blocking. So that's exactly right. It is creating a new thread in the process. System.dll. C#. It is a .NET assembly. Oh, man. That's interesting. Just says data. Can I look at this with .peek? I honestly don't know, but I'll try. .peek is a tool for looking at .NET assemblies. That's why they were talking about DNSpy, which is the open source one too. Well, that makes sense. I have no idea if this is going to work. Kind of seems like no. Does DNSpy have another capability about this that I don't know? Yeah, it's archived. This is just log4j data. I just knew that. You don't think it's .NET as you see more clear text code? I mean, I would agree with you, except look. The compiler is a Microsoft.C# code provider. Generate memory. I mean, you know what we could do? Result equals compile assembly. Compile assembly from source params. Compiler parameters. Assembly. And where is assembly? Okay, wait a second. So the C thing is getting compiled here. Kernel 32. Namespace inject. This is the .NET assembly right here. Okay. This is the .NET assembly right here. And this is, yeah, this is just the raw shell code. You are right. This is the raw shell code. Oh, hell yes. I found a CyberChef recipe. You know, that didn't help as much as I thought it would. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here. Can I post the base 64? Sure. I'll put it in Discord. This is all... Yeah, what is the executable used by the attacker to gain persistence? So on 6:09:52 p.m. on December 28th. Let's see what the timeline has to say about that time. December 28th, 2021. Show me everything. December 28th, please, if you wouldn't mind. December 28th, 2021. And great. Okay. Very strange. Okay. I am admittedly a little lost in the weeds here, so I will spend some money. We're looking at the right, look for encoded base 64 commands, which we did. from base 64 to unzip, which we did. Run fake net and execute the command. That's outside of DFIR. 337. Okay. So again, that's getting into, and I want to pause for a second, and actually we might call it here for the day. This challenge is cool, but this is where challenges in professional work start splitting. And here's why. During a DFIR, you are concerned with incident analysis. Malware analysis is a different skill. And sometimes they interact, but very often in a digital forensics investigation, you're much more looking at, what happened on the disk. And those people who do DFIR may have some malware analysis expertise, but that's not their focus, right? Their focus is picking apart disks like this and figuring out what happened on them. So, jumping over into like using Flare and FakeNet to figure out that sort of thing is a little bit tricky. Now we can run that whole PowerShell script and see what happens in FakeNet. But that's not really, I think, where we wanted to focus. Not where I wanted to focus for today. My focus was on disk forensics based on this. Malware analysis is cool, but that just wasn't where I was planning on focusing today. That's and my issue is that's like a lot of extra effort that's outside of the primary forensic focus. You know what I mean? Ransomware downloads a text file from an external server. What is the keys? Text file. Yeah, so all of this then becomes the malware analysis component of it. But I do want to know. I want to see where the first successful login to the vSphere web client was. Yeah, we know that. Okay, so let's close the timeline here. Go back to our vCenter server logs. Login success. Why is it not that? That's the first login success. Administrator. Unless it's the this one here. These are all login failures. Okay, I'm admittedly a little flummoxed. Let's see, service logs. Okay, I just got punished for being an American, is what happened there. Because I was doing... I was thinking month, day. That's why. That's why it was wrong. Ah, good. Thank you so much for that. Well, that's fair. Okay. All right, I think we've, extracted what we could out of the disk here in terms of forensics. The rest we would have to, fire it off. And jump into malware analysis, which could be fun, but I think that's what I wanted to do for disk forensics for today. So I think we're going to call it there. Friends, thank you so much for hanging out. I know I learned a lot today. I hope you did too. Is Foot actually here? Is Foot actually streaming? That never happens. No, not actually happening. Never. Oh, she's hosting me. Okay. So... I think we're going to call it there, and a non-staged blob, yeah. So I will be back on Tuesday doing some more offensive stuff. I think we're going to fire up the lab for that one and do some cool stuff. But enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking. We'll see you next time.